Hi, welcome to part. Well, anyway, I lost count of the number, but this is the very last section of our exploration of Asian art. We're going to be looking at another portrait. We looked at one in our last segment, a more contemporary one from China. We see when we look at this painting an individual sort of striding atop a mountain peak wearing a look of determination on his face. Chairman Mao en route to Anyang shows a young Mao Zedong, a Chinese communist revolutionary and the founding father of the People's Republic of China and leader of China from 1949 to 76, ready sort of to weather any storm. In picturing a moment in Chinese Communist Party history, Liu Chunhao celebrated Chairman Mao's, who was then in his 70s, and his long-standing commitment to the Communist Party ideals. Painted in 1967 at the dawn of the great proletarian cultural revolutions, this work uses socialist realism to portray Chairman Mao as a revolutionary leader committed to championing for the common people. During the Cultural Revolution between 1966 and 76, artists focused on creating portraits of Mao, and which were later termed as Mao paintings, which represented Mao's efforts to regain his hold after bitter political struggles within the party. With the leadership of Mao's last wife, Jiang Qing, the movement aimed to quell criticisms of Mao in drama, literature, and the visual arts. More broadly, it aimed to correct political fallout from the disasters of the 1950s, especially the widespread famine and deaths that resulted from the Great Leap Forward, an attempt from 1958 to 61 to rapidly modernize China, transforming it from an agrarian economy into an industrialized socialist society, and reinvigorate communist ideology in general. In the years that follow, Mao would lead the country through a decade of violent class struggles aimed at purging traditional customs and capitalism for Chinese history. In the early years of the Cultural Revolution, artists such as Liu Chunhao turned to a style known as socialist realism for creating portraits of Mao Zedong. Socialist realism was introduced to China in the 1950s in order to address the lives of the working class. Suitably for propaganda, socialist realism aimed for clear, intelligible subjects and emotionally moving themes. Subjects often included peasants, soldiers, and workers, all of whom represented the central concern of Mao Zedong and the Communist Party. Modeled after the works in the Soviet Union, painting in this style was rendered in oil on canvas. They notably departed from Chinese hanging scrolls in ink and paper, such as the one that you see here next to the portrait of Mao, Li Keiran's 10,000 Crimson Hills, which was painted in 1964, and more in the style of ink and color on paper. So oil painting is the medium of oil painting is a very Western tradition. Standardized by the Central Propaganda Department, Mao paintings typically pictured the Chinese leader in an idealized fashion as a luminous presence at the center of the composition. Unlike Chairman Mao en route to Anyang, portraits usually depicted Mao among the people, such as strolling through the lush fields alongside smiling peasants. So left, this painting depicts Mao's visit to Guangzhou in 1958 at the height of the Great Leap Forward. Again, this was an economic and social plan which aimed to transform China into a modern industrialized society. The idealized portrayal of Mao as a saintly icon was a common theme of this period. The year this work was created marked a transition in which professional artists replaced amateur painters and the creators of iconic Mao images. This work was enormously influential on a succeeding generation of painters, and numerous posters and copies of it were produced. So on the right, we see Mao Zedong is shown here standing on a large barge after his historic swim in the Ganji, I think it's Yangtze River on July 16, 1966, and what many believe was an attempt to assert his political power through a demonstration of physical strength. Mao swam in the strong current of the river for more than 1 hour at the age of 73. Posters of this painting were widely distributed in the early part of the Cultural Revolution. Tang Yao Ochi graduated from the Hubei Institute of Fine Arts in 1965 and currently lives in Wuhan. The Anyang's miners' strike of 1922, so we're going to be looking at a map. Chairman Mao en route to Anyang, which I'll go back, presents a critical moment in the Chinese Communist Party history. Mao marching toward the coal mines of Anyang in the Yangtze province of south central China, where he was instrumental in organizing a nonviolent strike of 13,000 miners and railway workers. Occurring only a year after the founding of the Chinese Communist Party, the Anyang miners' strike of 1922 was a defining moment for the Chinese Communist Party because the miners represented the suffering of the masses at the heart of the revolutionary cause. Many of the miners enlisted as soldiers in the Red Army, the army of the Chinese Communist Party, intent on following the young Mao toward revolution. Painting nearly a half-century after the Anyang miners' strike, Liu Chunhao created Chairman Mao en route to Anyang for a national exhibition. Liu Chunhao was a member of the Red Guard, or the group of radical youths whose mission was to attack the Four Olds, custom, habits, cultural, and thinking. To create this painting, he studied old photographs of Mao and visited Anyang to interview workers for visual veracity. Based on his findings, he rendered Mao wearing a traditional Chinese gown rather than Western attire, which was more commonly seen in portraits of Mao created during the Cultural Revolution. The cooler color tonalities of Chairman Mao en route to Anyang also differ from other Mao paintings, which tended toward warmer tones with clear blue skies, such as Chen Yangying's Chairman Mao inspects the Guangdong countryside below, which you see next to en route to Anyang. Others often featured vibrant red accents, red being the color of revolution. Instead, Liu Chunhao adopted for deep blues and purple hues to capture Mao's determination as he marched to address the plight of those suffering. In Chairman Mao en route to Anyang, Li Chunhao adapted Chinese landscape conventions to a new style and purpose. An evocative portrayal that suggests that Mao was capable of leading the country toward revolution. He pictured his subject emerging atop a mountain with clouds of mist below. In China, landscapes such as this often evoked immortal realms of extraordinary sights invested with the misty vapors of the mountain. Remember, the mountain was very symbolic and considered, sort of a symbol of the divine. However, a telephone pole is discernible in the lower left corner of the composition, and water cascades from a dam to the right, hints of modernity within the ethereal landscape, with an umbrella tucked underneath one arm and the other hand clenched in a fist and wearing windswept robes. Mao appears superhuman, yet also practical and charismatic. As a prominent icon in the Cultural Revolution, Chairman Mao en route to Anyang celebrated the grassroots nature of revolutionary history and cultivated devotion to Mao during a tumultuous time. As a brilliant example of the Chinese Communist Party propaganda, it was reportedly reproduced over 900 million times and distributed widely in print, sculpture, and other media. All right. Well, that is the end. So we have finished this extremely long unit. It was a lot of work, I know, and but we got through it. So our next big unit will be Mediterranean art. So we'll be looking at the art of Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece and Rome, and that will begin after Christmas. So stay tuned.